Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Retro Gamers Podcast, episode 167. There's a mage battle happening over there in Los Angeles. Larry here.
And Anthony here, battling a dragon. Look, that's me.
That's you, or you the dragon trying to take over the world?
Well, I didn't want to point that part out, but you know, no, here I am.
Oh, there you are. What was that?
That was a magnet from the casino I was at in Vegas.
Oh, the Excalibur.
Excalibur.
Mm-hmm. Ah, yes, the first hotel that I've stayed in. Actually, that we stayed in when we went to Vegas.
That was my first trip to Las Vegas, also. Yes,
there you go.
The Excalibur. That was where I discovered the wonder that is Krispy Kreme donuts.
Oh, that's right. We did find a Krispy Kreme there.
And you know what? It's still there in the same spot in the hotel.
Hey, listen, when a good thing's happening, don't move it.
I also remember eating 6 of them in one sitting and getting sick.
I don't remember that part.
Mm-hmm.
I may not have been there.
No, you were definitely there.
I was gambling.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Terribly gambling.
Yes.
So we are back, and first and foremost, just to bring it out of the realm of things here, and congratulations on your championship victory.
Thank you very much. It was a hard-fought battle, and very happy that my team won.
Yes,
I was in an ice hockey tournament in Las Vegas over the weekend. So
I meant your highlight group.
Oh, the highlight group. Yeah, that one was good too. But I gotta give the edge to the ice hockey tournament.
Fair enough, no problem.
So yes,
highlight.
That was definitely a highlight for the weekend. My gambling this weekend, definitely not a highlight.
Oh no, came in on the red end of it.
Yeah, I don't know how deep the red could be, but it was pretty deep.
Trust me when I tell you, it can go very deep.
Oh yeah.
I think I still owe money to Las Vegas. I'm not 100% sure.
That wouldn't surprise me.
So we're here this week and finally kind of getting back into the norm here. We had the new year. We had CES last week we're talking about. So we're going to try to settle our woes and get back into what brought us to the dance. And that's talking about these retro video games, most of which that are behind me. Some styles are behind Anthony there.
Yep.
And I figure let's get right into it because we got some good stuff to talk about today.
All right, sounds good to me. So, what do you want to talk about? No, stop.
So
that is not what we're talking about.
Another podcast.
Totally different podcast, and definitely not one we're experts in.
No, that's. I don't know.
He's only laughing because it's true.
Exactly. I love it. I like that. So what we're going to talk about today actually is a topic that I know you enjoy as far as this genre of video gaming, and one that I've kind of rediscovered.
Who is it?
No. Why does it always happen? I'm going to disconnect that line too pretty soon.
You should. Like the only human left with a landline.
Just let it ring. It's a magic jack. It's barely a landline.
All right, well, let it ring. It's fine. Or we should just take a live call on air. Yeah, well, we're recording.
Well, I'm going to go get it.
No, I'm kidding. Move on.
No, okay. It's a telemarketer. I know that's exactly what it is. In any event, that's why I have the number actually. So worth $40 a year. So a topic again, Ant, that you're going to enjoy, that one of which that I recently kind of rediscovered. Long story short, I'm not going to get into it. Things lately, I've had a lot of stress.
Okay.
That's about it.
Oh, wait,
that
you're stressed? I have the answer for stress.
What do you got?
The man, the myth, the legend, who always is the answer to stress. Bob Ross.
What is that? Sticky notes?
Somebody gave it to me for Christmas. They're Bob Ross sticky notes.
Oh, that is fantastic.
Bob Ross Post-its.
That's the greatest.
Basically, you can get anything with Bob Ross on it these days.
That is the greatest. Honestly, I mean, does his family even know that this is happening?
Yeah, they've been whoring him out for a while now.
Oh, the Bob Ross.
It's a Bob Ross board game.
No, what I'm trying to say is like the intellectual property of Bob
Yes.
Ross. It's almost as big as like the Muppets or something.
Although
It's
I
nuts.
saw a meme last week that I thought was very interesting, and it was, what if all of Bob's Ross, wait, what if all of Bob Ross's paintings were pointing you in the direction of where he hid his bodies?
Creepy.
Right?
The happy little tree right
But
here.
but but
This
it
is
but
where
then
the
it
head is.
but then it made me think because he would always say, "Happy little tree right here. Let's give him a little friend." I'm like,
Ah,
the
soil.
friend, yeah, the friend buried underneath the tree.
Poor Bob Ross.
Anyway, moving on.
I think I
What are we
bought some,
talking about?
and we're talking about Bob Ross now. I think I bought some of his painting supplies. We need a Bob Ross video game.
Yes, we do.
It would be
But
just
before,
like Mario Paint.
oh God, before we get to that, you were talking about you being very stressed. You've
Oh
been
yeah,
stressed
apparently
lately,
the stress
and
level is starting to go up now.
apparently,
In any event, I have kind of come to rediscover puzzle games,
Hmm.
which, depending on the puzzle, might actually give me a little more stress. But I found some that can kind of ease my woes. It's kind of like they say music soothes the savage beast. For me, it's been some puzzle games. And what are your take and your like thoughts and your love, or what got you to love puzzles and puzzle games?
Well, we're gonna have to go really far back into the past. I'd say let's go all the way back to first grade, Larry. I was a wee lad then, around 6 years old, seven. Just enjoying my time. Not worrying about anything. Um,
First grade. Yes, I was
but no, actually, to be honest with you,
dragged it, kicking and screaming.
I, I got into puzzle. I actually did get into puzzles when I was like 6 or 7 years old.
Okay.
I discovered anagrams when I was in the first grade, and I used to do those puzzle anagrams and cryptograms were my
Yes.
thing way back in the day. So, and if anagrams are words that are all mixed up. Cryptograms are the ones where the paragraph is rewritten where letters are substituted for different letters. So like
Mhm.
the X in the word is actually an A, and you had to figure out which letters stood for what.
And this is when you were 6?
Yeah, this is when I was 6.
Nerd.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've accepted my nerd status ever since. And
Fair enough.
I remember my first grade teacher talking to my mother about it, saying, "Oh, your son finishes the work in class really quickly, and then he starts doing these puzzles." And I'm like, "Yeah," I was like, "Because that's I got bored." Um,
You
and so
bore me, teacher.
yeah, basically. So that's where my love of puzzles started,
Okay.
and obviously it never ended. Video game wise, it probably started with Tetris, which is probably the game that started a lot of people with puzzles, off
Mhm.
of puzzles. Tetris is definitely the one I attribute it to, and ever since then, I mean, there hasn't been a system that I've owned where I haven't bought some type of puzzle game.
Okay.
Whether it's a puzzle game or an adventure game where you need to solve different riddles or puzzles or things like that in order to
Mhm.
move on. So yeah, so I mean so my puzzle gaming experience goes back over 30 years now.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, me personally, I mean, I was never really a big thinker. So,
You
puzzle game.
don't say.
So puzzle games never really came to me like that. You're talking about, your teacher talking to you, to your parents about you finishing work early and going off and not going off but just trailing off and playing these puzzle games. My parents got called up to school because I couldn't draw in the lines.
Huh.
So so two totally different backgrounds of education and how we started life.
I was
uh,
just gonna say that kind of sums up our lives today, Larry. That's an
I yeah, great side story on that
I,
one.
I was just gonna say, I think you're still trying to learn how to draw within the lines. Meanwhile, I just can't seem to stop solving puzzles.
I remember vividly too as a penguin. In any
Yeah.
event,
I also
so
can't seem to stop solving puzzles where I do that and get to the other side and find out, oh, you get nothing for it.
good day, sir.
Good day.
So, with me with puzzles and puzzle games, I think maybe the first one I remember even playing like on it, like I wasn't. in on Tetris that early. Yes,
Mhm.
I had it on Game Boy, but it took because it was packed in. But it took me a little while to really appreciate Tetris
Mhm.
on any system. I definitely never had it on NES, either version, the Tengen version, or the Nintendo one. Um, but I do remember, I got. I think the first puzzle game I probably had was Anticipation.
Oh yes, that was a great
Yes.
game.
Fantastic game. You look back on it, absolutely phenomenal. And what is the fun fact about Anticipation? The
It,
box?
it is a four-player game.
No. Anticipation's the only game where the Nintendo seal of approval is on the back.
Is on the back instead of the
Yep.
front. Yes.
Yep. So Anticipation was, and for those who aren't familiar with Anticipation, basically it's kind of like Pictionary, where the game starts drawing a picture and you buzz in, and then you guess and you move forward. It's actually a combination of maybe Trivial Pursuit as far as the board is concerned,
Mm-hmm.
and Pictionary. So
Yes, that's basically how you would. Do you mind,
yep.
Snow? Thank you.
Very good, very good level design as far as how the game's played and everything. And also I think Anticipation was probably the first game we played where I realized, oh, this guy knows what he's doing.
Oh,
Because you were solving puzzles before the damn pencil started moving.
well, I mean, it was kind of easy when you saw like the blanks on the bottom, so you can fill. I was always really good. Like Wheel of Fortune is my
Oh,
is my
forget it.
yeah. Like I don't even need.
Yeah.
A lot of times I don't need letters. It's great.
No, I've seen you do that.
Yes,
Trust me.
I
That's
know.
why I was saying, forget it.
Yeah,
Why
so
you
this,
never tried out for Wheel?
Wheel's one of those things where it's like when you go to try out, I think they put a bunch of names in a big giant thing and they randomly select people.
Oh.
So it's not like I can get on there just based on talent, so to speak.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I'm just talking to someone about your game show history.
Oh, well, I am a game show addict, and I'm hoping this year, fingers crossed, I'll get on another one.
Ooh, we will see.
But anyway.
So Anticipation, probably really one of the first ones that I got into. But what was some? I mean, obviously we all know you're a huge Tetris fan. I mean, who really isn't? But you adore the game. You've told stories of you and your family playing Tetris, which is phenomenal. But what are some of the other puzzle games that you remember playing? Anywhere between like the NES and even up to today, kind of because you can't really modernize too many of these puzzle games. It's just a different take on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, true. And
uh-oh. Look at that.
You go back over there. All right. Well, I mean, you pulled out two really great ones, which were Anticipation and Tetris, and we've talked about those ad nauseum. And I can also start talking about like game show games that I used to play all the time because those were, a lot of those are puzzle related as well.
True.
Win, Lose, or Draw for NES. I used to always enjoy playing. Classic Concentration on NES was awesome.
Yes.
And then when you get to other systems, it's interesting because when I try to go back and think in my head of all the other puzzle games, there's a lack of puzzle game memory when I get to Genesis and Super Nintendo because I don't really remember that many puzzle games that piqued my interest on those two systems when we went 16-bit. It was a lot for me. It was a lot of Mario, Zelda: Link to the Past, Sonic, the Disney games that were coming out at the time, like Aladdin, like all of those were really grabbing me. And then also RPGs started to hit me, like Shining Force and stuff like that. So puzzle games in the 16-bit era kind of took a backseat for a little while.
I can see that. Genesis had its fair share. Really, it was kind of like Columns, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, stuff like that.
Dr. Mario.
Dr. Mario. Well, that was more NES, but they had a good version. They had a good, if you can find it in a classic game store, they had a 2-pack. It was Tetris and Dr. Mario.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
That's a good one. That's a good double. But actually, to your point, Dr. Mario, probably the other or the biggest puzzle game, at least in my house. It was the only one of 2 games my dad basically had. Like that was his. It was that and Desert Strike for obvious reasons.
Uh-huh.
And actually, it's probably why he went and would play Dr. Mario then,
Yeah.
to calm down from Desert Strike. Um, but Dr. Mario definitely was big time, and Nintendo hit on that. As far as I know, Dr. Mario wasn't like that was a homegrown game.
Yeah.
Wasn't like a modded quote unquote game like Pokemon Puzzle League was on the N64,
Yeah.
which was just essentially Tetris 2. So actually, no, that it just dawned on me. Let me ask you that before we move on with other puzzle stuff. So a lot of times to get around, like I said, you don't get these puzzle games don't evolve. They just kind of modernize, kind of
Yeah.
sort of. And if you look at Tetris 2, which basically became like, was it Mickey's like magical drop or something?
Yes.
Something like that. Pokemon Puzzle League, and probably some other versions that I'm not thinking of right now. Would you have ever rebought that type of game just because they kind of threw a new coat of paint on it?
Yeah, I mean, depending on the theming and stuff like that. Like, to your point, like Tetris 2, Pokemon. Like, I still own Pokemon Puzzle League for my N64 because it was just enjoyable, and the Pokemon, skinning it with Pokemon just really worked well.
That's all it really was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a skin.
I mean, and then you wound up getting games like Bejeweled, which did the same thing. And actually, Larry, there's a version of that I have on my phone that's WWE themed.
Oh, like Bejeweled?
Yeah, it's like
Was it Championship?
it's WWE here. Let me look right now.
Right.
It's right here on my phone. WWE Champions, I think it's called.
Okay, yep, that's the one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
shockingly.
it plays.
Oh. Right.
All right, well, there it is. So, and that's kind of one of those ones too, where it's like you switch two of the items and you get three in a row and they disappear and stuff like that. Except that so that type of game has been going on for a really long time, and I have no problem picking up rethemed ones if the themes pique my interest. So, yeah,
I think that basically is their way of going about bringing some of these games back, because again, playing Tetris 2 on, I think it was on the NES, and then its version, which is the Mickey one, on Super Nintendo, and then you get to the N64. It's the exact same gameplay.
Yep.
Basically. So that's pretty cool. Now, when you play puzzle games, do you play? How can I do you play just for the enjoyment? Do you play to try and zen yourself out? You know what I mean? Just play just to get a high score.
It depends. Again, it's one of those things where it depends on the mood that you're in. My brain is naturally inclined to puzzle solve. It's what, it's just the way that I think. I have there's just a logical side to my brain that's always functioning. So I'm always looking at problem solving and puzzle solving, to the point where I do it for a living. It's part of my job. So, on some days it's just a complete hey, you know what, I want to do this, I want to get the high score, I want to win. And on other days it's like I really just need to step back, relax a little bit and chill out, and then I'll pull up a puzzle game that's just going to relax. And again, there are so many different types of puzzle games. Like we're talking about kind of more of the traditional ones, I think, right now, where it's like, here's your board, here's the puzzle, solve it. But there are so many other ways. There's so many other types of puzzle games that you can discuss, and you can even talk about puzzle elements that exist in other types of games. For example, Resident Evil. Resident Evil is a survival horror game, but in order to get through Resident Evil, there are puzzles you have to solve within the game.
Very true, yeah.
So puzzles are a key component in a lot of video games, not just straight up puzzle games.
And like one of your favorites, Myst, which is just all about puzzle. Like I didn't realize that was really more puzzle. Like watching you play the was it the 13th Doll?
The 13th Doll. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with those puzzles. And here I am watching you live. You can't hear me, but like I'm yelling at the television, do this, do that, change. I'm sure a bunch of us were, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
And you don't realize how, or I forgot how you can make kind of like a this story unravel just based on puzzles.
Yeah, and that is kind of part of that was what I was going to say also. Like outside of the puzzle genre, there's this other genre called I think it's just called not action adventure, just adventure games,
Hmm.
and that's where like 13th Doll, Seventh Guest, Myst kind of fall into because it's not straight up puzzle. It's a little more open world where you're walking around, you're uncovering story as you're
Hmm.
solving these puzzles. Um, and once that genre hit me, and that it was the Seventh Guest that was the first one to do it, I was
Hmm.
hooked completely on it on those types of games for a really, really long time. Seventh Guest, 11th Hour, Mist, Riven, all of
Hmm.
those, and then even like there was another game called Scratches that I had for the PC. Again, similar game. You know, you're in a house and you're trying to unsolve this mystery, but the only way you do it is you're solving puzzles or it's more like kind of finding things. It's like there's a key that you find in the kitchen that you have to bring to a different room that unlocks, but then you're stuck in you can't get any further until you find something else. It's like that type of thing where you just have to use logic to try and figure these things out. And there's actually and that goes all the way to puzzle games for today. Um, on the PlayStation VR, there
Oh
is
yeah.
there's a game called I Expect You to Die, and and
Well,
basic
excuse you.
well, no, that's what it's called. It's called I
Oh,
Expect You to Die, and basically it's an
expect you
escape
to
the room game,
die.
which is another type of puzzle game.
That's a big
And
time
that's
puzzle
what it
game.
is. And in each one, you are physically because it's VR, you're using your hands to
Hmm.
kind of figure out what to do. And if you do the wrong thing, you die. So so
Just like in
yeah,
real life.
yeah, just like in real life. So yeah, so there's so many different ways to talk about this, but you know, and I'm going in a roundabout way and talking about all of it at once, um, but
It,
yeah, I mean, what
to,
for you, like if you were to pick, like just off the top of your head, um, the puzzle game that had the most impact on you, which one is it and why?
I would have to say, and it's actually only recently, but it started by playing the original version, the original Game Boy version, which I never owned. I downloaded it on the Virtual Console on the 3DS, but would be Mario's Picross.
Mm.
And it now there are so many versions of Picross. And real quick, just
Uh-huh.
to explain, and it's kind of expanded into more, but the basic idea of Picross is you have a board, 5 by 5, 10 by 10, 15 by 20, however it is, and there's numbers along the top. It almost seems like Sudoku as far as when you first look at it
Mhm.
real quick. Numbers on the top, numbers on the side. And what those numbers represent is the number of blocks to fill in that column, in that line. And when there's more than one number, that means there's going to be at least a gap in between. So if you have a row of 5 spots and you can only be like a 3 and a 1 because you need that fourth one to
Mhm.
put the space in between. And I remember downloading it on the 3DS on the Virtual Console, and because I've always seen gameplay about it, always looked interesting, and I just wanted a puzzle game. It was like
Mhm.
$5, and by God, I fell in love with it like that. Um, to the point where I've downloaded, I think there's about 6 or 7 per cross series, not necessarily from Nintendo, but I guess some company who got the idea from Nintendo or vice versa. So I got like 6 or 7 of them on the 3DS. I got about 2 or 3 of them on the Switch,
Mhm.
to the point that even in, I believe you on one of your trips back
Yep.
from Japan, and I never even knew, even learning about Japanese games, Famicom games, that there was one on the Super Famicom. Let me make
Yeah.
sure I get this in frame here.
Yeah. Mario
Um,
Picross.
I forgot what this is called in English, but
I
basically,
thought it was just Mario Picross.
I mean, it probably is what it translates into, but it's got something. There's another name to it. Here, kind of give you an idea. Here's a screenshot.
Yep.
Give you an idea what it looks like. I actually hidden very deep in out in the Retro Gamers YouTube page. I don't think it's on my page. I think it's on the Retro Gamers page.
Okay.
Is 2 videos of me playing this, streaming it. So if you want, go and find it. Please do, because we only have like 5 views on each one. But,
There's a reason for that. You're live streaming a game of Procross.
This is, yeah, but still, I thought people would get into it. But check it out, and that right now, Ant, is what really I've been playing. And there's on 3DS, I downloaded I think it was a Zelda version of Procross.
Oh, cool.
Like a Twilight Princess type thing to it.
Mhm.
And it really, days I come home and just the grind, just grinding away on me. Literally, I'll come home. This is what I meant much earlier when I said kind of just relaxing from it. I'll just sit down on the couch. I'll boot it up on the Switch and just play and just enjoy it. Even to the point that sometimes I may play with some soothing music, because you can always change the background noise. A lot of times I'll play with no music. I just kind of like that. I don't know, just kind of the natural around me.
Yeah.
Though I think the new one, if I remember correctly, the new Procross on the Switch has like an ambient noise type background.
Okay.
Yeah, which I actually quite enjoy. So I've been playing that as well. So that is what I've been just gearing up for, and that's my love right now, is Procross as a puzzle game. Anything on your end? I mean, 13th Doll, I know was definitely eating up your time in a good way. Anything else recently for you?
Yeah, 13th Doll was definitely eating up my time, and to be honest with you, I took a break from it because I want to make it last. Since it took 15 years to come out, I want it to last a little bit.
So it'll take you 15 years to beat.
Yeah, I don't want to beat it in 15 minutes. So I have taken a break from that for a little bit. But I am enjoying it. I have to say the game that impacted, or at least my game of the year from last year that's puzzle related, has to be The Witness. And if you have not played
talked about this.
Yeah, let me tell you something. There was just something about that game that was so peaceful and at the same time very challenging, because you're just on an island, and also for me, what was surprising about it is I don't like first person perspective.
No, you don't.
And that's exactly what this game was.
What system was it on?
Well, I got it on the PlayStation 4.
Okay. All right.
So basically you're walking around an island and you're just coming across puzzles, and there are no instructions on how to do the puzzles. Basically, the puzzles teach you how to do the puzzles.
Okay. It kind of reminds me of a game show in England from back in the day. You just kind of jump in a room and figure out how to play.
Well, and that's what it is. It's just intuitive. So in other words, and obviously there are different types of puzzles all across the island. Mm-hmm. So you have to learn all these different puzzles or figure out how to solve them all. And they start very, very simple. When you find the first one, it's like pretty easy. It's like, oh, I do this. But then, they get subsequently harder in order to complete an area. And as you're going through, you're unlocking like different they have people reading different quotes or excerpts from well-known philosophers and writers and theorists and stuff like that. But all the while, you're just kind of wandering around on this really beautiful island, stumbling across these puzzles. And and again, the goal of it is just to solve the puzzles. It's not like it unlocks this whole big adventure or anything like that. You're just completing the puzzles. And obviously you need to complete some of them. You have to complete to access other things and whatnot. Mm-hmm. So, it was just, it was just an absolutely beautiful game. I believe I unlocked all 3 endings that I know of in the game.
There you go.
Which is really cool. And I mean, and to be honest with you, I would start a new game and play it again, because it's not like you can remember how to solve them all. You remember how to do them, possibly, but solving them all takes a lot of work.
Yeah, that was always my concern. Like, you play these games, and at what point does it get too repetitive that you're kind of like a game show game, or a trivia game? Eventually they're going to repeat.
Yeah. And that's the thing with this. I mean, I'm sure if I went back to it, I would be able to solve a lot of the puzzles a lot quicker. But even still, you can't remember all of there are, I think, over 600 puzzles on the
Oh
island.
wow.
Yeah, 600 or 700 puzzles. So getting through all of them is like, it's a tall order.
Yeah, forget that.
But I do highly recommend it. Just even if anything, like you said, like you come home from a long day and you want to do something peaceful, but
Hmm.
still have your brain engaged.
Yeah.
But this is the perfect thing this was for me the perfect game because walking around the island, you hear just the ambient noises of what it would feel like to be on an island. You hear the water a little bit, or if
Hmm.
you're taking a boat around the island, obviously you're listening to the boat go with the water, the
Yeah.
tree, the sound of the trees and the breeze, just your footsteps walking around the different terrain.
Okay.
You
Is it
know,
VR?
no, it is not VR,
Okay. Trying to see if I
but
have anything else as far as puzzle. I don't think so. At least not right now. Nothing that I can tell. You know what? Yeah, it's fine. Literally my eye just went right to it, and I didn't think of it as a puzzle game, and then it reminded me of a game like the first game I really played on the computer. I saw Krusty's Funhouse on
oh yeah,
Nintendo,
a version of
which
Lemmings.
and that's exactly what it brought me back to. Lemmings was definitely the first PC game I really played. I think it came on about 147 floppy disks
Oh yeah.
to play. It was definitely a couple. And the idea of Lemmings, just like Krusty's Funhouse and Krusty's Super Funhouse, which I think I also have. I don't know why I have the NES version.
Mm.
Just basically, you have these lemmings that just keep moving. They walk in a straight line and they don't stop. They'll bounce off a wall, they'll fall off a cliff, and you have to find a way to get them to a certain area. So, you know, the different take in puzzles. Do you find yourself like when you're really into these puzzle games, like can you jump from one genre to the other, like a Tetris to my second now at this point, second favorite genre puzzle game being Puzzle Bobble or Bust a Move as we know it here.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I don't think there's a problem with switching puzzle games at all. I mean, like for me, The Witness, like sometimes I needed to take a break
Mm-hmm.
because I would get stuck on puzzles, and I'm like, okay, and that happens a lot too. Sometimes you get so into a game, you start overthinking it, and then you're looking past what you need to do.
Yeah.
And taking that break helps. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I've never had a problem switching from like from like a Tetris to a Pokemon Puzzle League or
Okay.
Seventh Guest or something like that. I have no problem doing that.
Gotcha. So basically, kind of to wrap this part of it up, you know, what would be then your absolute well, the answer is probably going to be Tetris. So besides Tetris, what would be your absolute go-to, genre of puzzle? Because
Mm.
like I said, Procross, there's tons of different versions of it.
Yeah. No, I would probably lean more along the lines of like Seventh Guest and Mist and stuff like that because what I love about those is that you're uncovering a story. So it's not
Okay.
just you're solving puzzles. Now you're solving puzzles and uncovering this whole story or myth or whatever. And it fills out the experience a little bit more.
Hmm.
It also puts you in it puts you in the game, so to speak, in that
Okay.
respect. So again, totally different from like a Tetris. Tetris will be like the first and foremost. That was the puzzle game that got me into puzzle video
Hmm.
games. But Seventh Guest, Mist, and stuff like that, they took it to the next level and they gave me an experience along with the puzzle.
Okay. Very cool. And that's kind of what cell phones lead themselves to, or at least the original, the first
Hmm.
wave of cell phones. The Game Boy definitely had its fair share of puzzles because it was kind of the type of game to play on a
Yep.
Game Boy. So definitely, they're out there. And what's good is that you really can't, knock on wood, you can't screw up a puzzle game too much.
Mm,
I
I
mean, look,
guess.
it's either good or just terrible. But you really can't oh, this is gonna be fantastic. And you start playing it, like, what is this? Like, what you're kind of getting yourself into.
True. Very true.
So, as always, we want to hear from you folks out there. What are your favorite genre of puzzles? What's your favorite puzzle game or series? Hit us up on the Facebook, on the Instagram, on the Twitter, and let us know. As we want, this feedback. We want to give back the
Hmm.
feedback because we want to hear from you guys, you gals, and let us know what zens you out. So, but yeah, no, good stuff on the puzzles. And, definitely I got a couple other, actually there is a Picross game on the Switch that is kind of like, has like this medieval storytelling to it. Actually, I just downloaded the demo. It's weird. The demo is only available on the Japanese eShop. So I really didn't know what it was saying, dialogue. But I mean, it's Picross, so you kind of play in any language. Yeah. That's another good thing about puzzles. Jumps the language barrier. Says, you know what?
It really does.
Blowing it to the side. Yep. Done.
Yeah, it really does. And actually, just last night I was talking to a friend of mine and I did a search for like the best puzzle games from 2019 because I wanted a new one.
Okay. So cool. Hey, side note, a little off topic, but I want to get your idea and while we're doing it here. Did you download what the hell is that board game they have on the Switch? Begins with a C.
Clue?
Not Catan, no. Carcassonne? No.
Carcassonne?
Yeah, did you download that?
I did not download that because for some odd reason I've played Carcassonne and I just don't understand it.
Fair enough. All right, no problem. Because Pandemic is available. And
yes, Pandemic is awesome.
I loved playing the board game.
Yeah.
I'm just curious how it's going to translate to the Switch. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It's got really no difference except you don't lose any pieces.
No, I mean, I have Pandemic on my phone.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. That and Ticket to Ride.
Ticket to Ride. I'm waiting for that to come back out. On a home console.
Yes.
All right.
Well, it is. Isn't it available on Xbox?
It is. Actually, it's backwards compatible. The 360 version is available on the One.
If you bought it on 360, yeah, you can play it on your Xbox.
But I want it on the Switch. I want everything on the Switch.
I like things on the Switch because when I travel, I can take it with me.
Exactly. And speaking of, well, maybe not the Switch too much, but going to switch gears here. We're kind of open-ended here on this format this week. I want to mention this because it's on Kickstarter. I backed it. I'm looking forward to it. But just today, I rewatched, they have like on Kickstarter, they have the video to introduce the campaign. And I'm watching it and I'm like, ooh, that is a little odd. Nothing bad, just odd. I'll explain what I mean in a moment. So there's a game available. It's been out. It came out years ago on the Super Nintendo called Jim Power and the Lost Dimension.
Okay.
Fantastic game. Kind of has a Contra meets kind of Super Mario Brothers, I guess, and the idea of a side scroller. And it's just a shoot 'em up like that, like Contra is. Fantastic game. I think it's kind of hard to find. I'm not 100% sure, like original copies. But Pico Interactive, Piko, is doing a Kickstarter to bring back Jim Power and the Lost Dimension on 5 different systems. They're going to remake the Super NES version.
Okay.
Yeah, they're going to tweak it a little bit, make it a little better than it was originally. I think they're adding a hit system to it.
Okay.
They are making a previously unreleased but completed Genesis version.
Ooh.
These are all brand new that you'll be able to play on your current consoles.
Okay.
They are making from the ground up an NES version of the game.
Okay.
And the two that really struck my fancy, they're making an Amiga CD32 version.
Okay. Sure.
Ask me why. And the one I was eyeing because I need this system for my Polymega, a TurboGrafx CD version.
Oh, okay. I'm in.
Which is actually a previously PC Engine Japanese only version of the game.
Okay.
So coming over that they're going to do. Great. Again, I put the link up. Well, by the time this drops and you listen to it, it'll already be on. So the link is up right now as we record, which is Monday, January 20th. 24 days to go on the Kickstarter. Their goal is $50,000. They're currently at $35,328. So they're getting there. 389 backers. And this thing, I mean, the graphics on each system for their respective version of the graphics looks phenomenal. And I think I'm not talking out of turn when I say that, like the pricing on this, basically, well, as we speak, there's only 32 left for the early bird edition. Like we get like a really good price on it.
Okay.
So after shipping, my pledge is $50, which is not bad.
No, it's not bad at all.
and I get to choose any one of those 5 systems.
Sweet.
Yeah, and they have other ones like if you want 2 versions, so you can get all 5, stuff like that. And then of course you have your regular edition, which is just basically the physical version. I'm just going to read this verbatim. Physical version of Jim Power. You may pick the platform. Game includes region-free cartridge or CD, colored box, colored instruction manual. The special edition would be with special edition art on the box, 11 by 17 poster, an original soundtrack of the game as well.
Cool.
They are also the stretch goals. Where are we? So stretch goals, I'm just going to read through this real quick. The first 3 actually are comic books, of the series. So they're going to do original comic books. There's one where they would make literally a Famicom and a Super Famicom version of the games, like in full Japanese, they said. Digital versions on the Switch and the PS4. And then if they go higher, physical versions on the Switch and the PS4. And at the $350,000, they get $350,000. They will do a Neo Geo version.
Ooh.
Which is not part. Usually these stretch goals, like they become part of, depending on what tier you're in. The Neo Geo cart is not part of any tier, but depending on what tier you're in, you can get a discounted price. But those bad boys are expensive.
Of course they are.
And then as they keep going up, they would do either a 22-minute cartoon, a 40-minute cartoon, or like a 75-minute movie almost.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes. This thing, and the graphics just look even on the NES, the graphics look fantastic. They got the rights from the original creator of the game who passed away. The whole story's on there. In 2016, but I guess they worked with the family, Pico Interactive, and got the full rights to the game, so that's why they're moving forward. Here's the issue I had. I talked to my buddy today about it at work, and he kind of explained to me, because I never played TurboGrafx CD. Never had a TurboGrafx CD. So I'm watching the video, and you can all watch this as well. And they go through the different versions, the Genesis, the NES, Super Nintendo. Characters moving, all good to go. They get to trying to find something to use that as an example. They get to the TurboGrafx CD version. And the character, again, I just got to make sure I can see myself here, will like jump. And then when he's on a platform, he'll be like, instead of going like jump, you know what I mean? Like an arc, it literally goes like, dunk, like straight down. Like he walks off the platform and he just literally just falls down in a straight line. And I was like, ooh, that kind of looked weird. But my buddy told me that was basically the TurboGrafx CD. Like that's what it did.
Oh, wow.
In the games. I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
Well, that might make you second guess the TurboGrafx CD version.
It is, and it's annoying me because I really wanted it on TurboGrafx.
Well, there are other TurboGrafx CD games to get, Larry. You don't have to get this one.
There are, but this one's $50. But if I would get it, I would get the Genesis if I change my mind, because the Genesis version is almost like an original version of the game.
Okay.
Like different from the Super Nintendo. So, and then one more thing to mention, just to talk about how they're really gonna like showing dedication to these games. I'm gonna get a little nerdy here on this one.
No,
high quality parts and material. They're gonna use the carts pins will be gold and beveled to avoid death grip. Where you just can't get it out of the system. Gold plated pins. The CDs will be pressed professionally, and in the case of the TurboGrafx CD. And if anyone's listening and knows a lot about like why this is the case, the TurboGrafx CD, they will be pressed at the the slowest speed.
Okay.
Now I get that, when you make a CD at a slow speed, it kind of ensures nothing skips.
Right.
But I'm just kind of curious the full reason behind it, because they didn't say that about the Amiga 32, CD 32. So,
don't know.
But in any event, very cool. Oh, and they also which I feel like this is like a shot over the bow for the NES maker unintentionally, but they're like, the NES version of Jim Power in the Lost Dimension is not going to be made with like a third-party game maker. It's being coded from the ground up.
Oh,
That was-
did LJN make it?
Oh, possibly. So definitely go check it out though. Honestly, it looks like a great game, and I think it's even at $50 if you're one of the few left to be able to get it at that really good price. Well worth it for any of these systems.
All right, cool.
Yep.
I am intrigued.
And then you know what? Even past the early bird special, it's going to be $50 regularly for like just the plain old regular edition. So
Hold on, I think I'm under attack.
there you go, coming in. That's Jim Power from the Lost Dimension.
My God, you brought up Desert Strike. I might be in trouble.
Oh boy. Well, if they fly over the water,
Butch?
don't use gas.
Is that you?
He wouldn't be flying it. He would just be firing from it.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
He probably would be in there too. So yeah, go check it out. I think honestly, I think this is well worth the back.
All right. Very
In
cool.
my opinion. And another, I don't know if it's on Kickstarter, but they got this other thing. It's a basically like an N64 storage box. It kind of when you put the N64 on top of it, so it kind of reminds you of the disc drive, the 64DD.
Okay.
But apparently, what you can do is you can store, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 games inside of it, like N64 games.
Okay.
It's just kind of just meant to, free up some room. That's all. Looks pretty cool. Pretty straightforward. We'll put some pictures on our page. And news-wise, really not much about like in major updated news. The one thing I kind of want to talk about real quick, and it's modern. Don't get me wrong. Did you see the new patent that supposedly Nintendo put in for?
No.
For the stylus.
Yes. I did hear about that actually.
So basically, do you know what it's about? Like, did you?
No, but I think the rumor is that they're literally going to come out like kind of similar to what you can do on an iPad Pro with the stylus.
Basically, yeah. What happens is it well, at least as according to the photos, it's just basically putting a little, like the stylus rubber tip on top of Joy-Con. What do you call it thing? What the hell do you call it? The part that you attach to Joy-Con and has the wrist strap on it.
Yeah.
I forgot what they call it. I forgot what the name of it is. But in any event, so that thing. They just putting, just a stylus on it, and apparently you can use it. It would be used in handheld mode, and if you touch something on the screen, it can cause the rumble and stuff like that. Very early, of course. It's rumor, but it'd be interesting to see that, like a stylus on the Switch.
Yeah, and then something else came up in my brain, news-wise.
Okay.
Modern news again.
Okay.
Sony announced last week officially, and this is I think the second year in a row. They will not be attending E3.
Yeah, E3.
E3 they're hurting.
It's starting to dwindle, but I mean, it's not like Sony and Nintendo, they're going to do their directs or state of play for Sony.
Yes.
So I guess it's just kind of a money saver at this point.
Yeah. Well, I think what happened was when E3 closed themselves to general guests, like when it became professionals only, I think that's when it started to take a little bit of a hit. Because I mean, part of the appeal of an E3 is that you have players there to get excited about what you're presenting. Granted, I'm not saying that, people who work in the industry don't get excited over these things, but I think there's by cutting out the actual audience of the players who are going to be purchasing things, I feel like you're missing a bit of the heart and the excitement from your convention, or from your expo. And I think maybe, and that's why I think we're getting stuff now like Nintendo Direct and Sony State of Play, where they're presenting directly to, us, the players.
Well, here's what's funny. Nintendo started this whole thing. They started, not showing up maybe not showing up, but they didn't do a press conference. And, that's when they started with the Nintendo Direct, really. And it was a hit because they were able to control it. It's not live, so they can do whatever they want with it. They can jazz it up. Was it last year that Sony did something like during E3, but not at E3, like when they were in that tent or something like that.
You may
You
be
remember
right. I don't remember exactly.
but they only showed like 4 games. It was kind of weird.
Yeah, it was something like that. In other words,
Yeah,
it was. I think it was their way of still presenting something during E3 while
something.
people were
Yeah.
paying attention. Yeah.
And then Xbox shelling out the big bucks for their stage presence.
Hmm.
But let me ask you this: so with Sony, all right, I get it, especially like the last couple of years, it's all software.
Yep.
What are you gonna do? Just play games on stage, or you just show it on a state of play, which is fine,
Yep.
not a problem. Obviously still works for Xbox because they've been doing that, but they also get like Keanu Reeves to come out and he goes off script. But you
He's
know,
Keanu Reeves. He's allowed to do that.
this is true. This is very true. Bill and Ted 3. Cannot wait. But now with the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series or Elite, whatever the hell it's called, do you think this is from your business point of view, kind of in an entertainment? I know you hate when I say that, but
I do
between you and
hate it.
me, you're there. Um, like, do you think it's a smart move for Sony to skip out if they're getting ready to introduce a brand new system?
Absolutely, and I'll tell you why. Everybody already knows. Everybody already knows what Sony can deliver. Going to E3 and dropping information on the next PlayStation isn't going to matter because they've already dropped a majority of the information that you need to know. Anything that they're going to want to drop from here on out, they'll just do during state of play. And so, to be honest, I mean, E3 doesn't really guarantee them anything.
True, but like, don't you think? Like, to me, I would imagine they want that because we still technically haven't seen the final form of what the
Right.
PS5 is going to look like. We don't know a price yet, obviously, and or
Right.
the exact drop date. So, usually, like that reveal, like when they take the the towel, whatever the hell you
Hmm.
call it, the cover off the system, and oh, ooh, ah,
Yeah.
and the flashes go, and Kong breaks through and eats people.
Yes.
But don't you like that's? I feel is like part of it where if you just see on a state of play, coming up now, the PlayStation 5,
Yes.
Viola. You know what I mean? Like, does it have the same pizzazz?
It may not have the same pizzazz in the sense of they're not doing a big reveal at an expo, but again, I think that Sony specifically, I think that Sony is far ahead of the competition, and like they're far enough ahead of the
Hmm.
competition where I don't think they need that type of impact anymore.
Okay.
We all know what we're going to get from Sony. It doesn't matter how they announce it. It's such a trusted product at this point.
Hmm.
And I think that it's really Microsoft and Nintendo to a lesser extent, because Nintendo, we've always said, they're kind of the outlier because they have their core audience and they just stick with that. Um,
Basically.
but it's going to be more Microsoft to me, where like they really need that because they're trying to get in on some of Sony's market.
Okay.
That's
Well,
just
it's
and
fine.
that's just my opinion.
That's what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Certainly time will tell on all of this.
Yeah.
And as E3 approaches, I mean, that's in
Yes.
June, so we got some time.
Hmm.
But right now, I think this was a good one. I think it's probably we'll bring this one into port unless you got anything else to chat
I
about.
I do, Larry. I do
Oh,
have
there you go.
more
See, this
news.
is why we need a.
Yeah, I know.
All
No,
right,
well,
what's
did
up?
did you see the reveal on Super Nintendo World that went on last week? The theme park attractions?
Oh, yes, I completely forgot about that
How could you forget about that?
because I don't live in Japan.
Well, neither do I, and yet I still know.
I feel like you may secretly have something to do with it.
I plead the
No, it
fifth.
it looks very, very cool. Aren't they building one here in the US though, as
They're
well?
building two in the U.S. here. There's one in Orlando and one in Hollywood.
There we go. So, but this one in Japan and some of the stuff, um, it just looks, it is very Nintendo all the way down as we posted on the Facebook page. Hey, let's decline that. If you hear that, folks, I apologize. I'm getting a phone call. All the way down to the Piranha Plant urinals.
Yeah, I gotta say the Piranha Plant urinals are definitely unique. But one of the bigger reveals was when they were talking about how you're gonna have kind of a wristband,
Yes.
and the wristband is gonna open interactivity around Super Nintendo World, where the entire world is like a video game to you. So like you can see a coin block above your head and punch it to get coins and collect coins. and just other things that you get to interact with through the power, in that wristband. So they revealed that, and then of course there was other further information that came out about the one of the rides as well,
Oh, that one I think I forgot.
which is the Mario Kart ride.
Yes. The this thing is it's crazy the time we live in right now.
Yeah,
Who
it
would have
really is.
known? Who would have thunk it?
No, nobody would have that we would get. Of all the things to get licensed out to theme parks, I never expected Nintendo to do it.
Yeah, right. Especially because they were so protective.
Yeah. Or if they were going to do it, I always expected that they would build their own. Not like, but they've officially licensed it to Universal Studios. So it's just it really is like, it's an exciting time to be a gamer, retro or current, because we're just getting, we're getting so much content. It's unbelievable.
Crazy input, like
Yes.
Johnny Five would say.
Exactly. I'm ready to accept my whatchamacallit. I'm ready to accept the thing from the Matrix where they just upload you.
Johnny Mnemonic.
Yeah, just sticking in the back of my head. Although I did, this isn't video game related, but I did see new tech come out. Contact lenses with built-in AR.
That's weird.
Contact lenses with augmented reality. So you actually will be able to just wear contact lenses and actually interact with AR.
Like Google glasses. In that 3 times fast.
Yeah, kind of like that. It's just all this weird. Just there's so much happening so fast, and I just want to play Beat Saber.
I gotta get that started, for crying out loud.
I think it's time for us to discuss Beat Saber battles on live stream.
What? We got to, because I gotta get the dang thing going, and
Yes.
make sure I don't have a heart attack while playing it. So,
well, we can live stream that too.
Whatever gets the numbers, I don't care.
Yeah.
So where could you possibly see me having a heart attack live on the internet?
Well, ideally, you can see it on Facebook.com/RetroGamersPodcast. Or we can post it up on our Instagram page at Retro Gamers Podcast. We can tweet it if you want at is it at Retro Gamers
Retro
Pod?
Gamers Pod. Yep,
Retro Gamers Pod. We can tweet it. Or quite simply, we will post it in memoriam on the retrogamers.com.
Oh my God. How dare you, sir? Accurate, but how dare you? And of course, you can find us wherever you are listening to podcasts or watching us right now on YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit that bell icon so you know when new videos will pop up. And
Larry, I want to close out really quickly because I completely forgot about them. I bought a few games while I was in Las Vegas at a Gamer's Paradise. So
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yep. So before we say farewell, really quickly,
yes.
Surprisingly, I did not have this before. So I picked this up. Excitebike.
Wow, you didn't have that?
No, I didn't have Excitebike with the instruction booklet. Which
very nice. Yeah.
What is even more surprising, before I'll save that one for later. This one I bought because a couple of weeks ago we talked about television show games, right?
Oh, yeah.
So they had Gilligan's Island there.
So fantastic! Good copy.
Yeah, it's a really good copy. So I picked that up, and this is the one that surprised me the most. That I did not realize I didn't have this, and it shocked me to my core. But Castlevania 2: Simon's Quest.
Oh, burn it!
I had to buy that. And last month, they also had the retranslated version as well.
Oh, the quicker one? Nice.
Yeah, but I didn't pick that up. And then for the Xbox, not 360, but the original Xbox,
OG.
I picked up a game that I was obsessed with on my PC, but now I get to play it on my Xbox, which is really awesome, and that is Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Oh, okay. Cool. Oh, yeah, you were obsessed about that game.
I was, and it has the instruction booklet, too. Really nice.
There's your receipt.
And there's my receipt, which I keep in all of my... Yep, when I shop, they go right in the box.
Next time I'm in LA, I'm taking all the receipts out.
And then you'll watch Larry die on live stream.
Awesome. Very good pickups, though. Those are really nice. And they're all clean copies as well, so very good stuff.
Very important to me. And
nice.
Okay, and now we're done.
Okay. So, again, YouTube, hit the bell icon so you know when we get new videos. Hit the subscribe button and then like, share everything that we post, especially the podcast. And with that, Ant, have a wonderful week.
You have a wonderful week as well.
Awesome. And we will catch you right here next week on the Retro Gamers Podcast.